In our last video for IT basics for labs, you learned Sherry. Basically, you, when I say you are the Sherry in this lab, right? So Sherry learned about virtualization. She did her homework. A sysadmin told her that you're missing some core understanding of virtualization. So she went ahead and she went through that playlist. So I assume you will do the same thing because some of the things will not make too much sense. Now, for people who are watching this video, this is a series of IT basics labs, technical labs that you can get a server from us, do it on our systems, or you can build your own system and you can follow the same steps that I'm doing in this video to learn basic skills. But this is not a theoretical course where I will be sitting here explaining all the things in detail. For that, you need to go to jobskillshare.org and start a full IT program so then you can do this more of like a video practice. If you have premium access, you can do the practice on hands-on labs. Okay, so let's get moving. Now you know how this is working, so now we're going to get technical. We're going to basically get practical. So the sysadmin will tell you, hey Sherry, you know what, let's get to our vSphere. Now you see, as soon as I say vSphere and you're looking at the screen like, whoa, what is that? This means you didn't watch the playlist before this video. So you need to make sure you go back to the playlist, which I'm going to share in my description. So in the description, I'm going to share that, and you need to make sure you watch the video that was uploaded before this video, right? So that's the one. System administrator guiding help desk. So he's basically giving her information that you need to finish this stuff for you to understand what I'm showing you right now, right? So that's clear now. So this is a vSphere access. We're tasked to create a domain controller for this company, and we need to also create Sherry's machine, which is going to be a help desk machine. So help desk is more of a powerful machine, right? So we're going to make it do a lot of work in this lab. And if you are a person who likes to watch blogs, I'm going to share this link with you. This is a full live training blogs. One of our student John, we're grateful to him. He finished his live training. He's like, hey, I want to give something back to your community. So he made blogs step by step, and now he's actually a trainer somewhere outside, and he's definitely doing great. His blogs are amazing because this is the things that we charge in our live training. We charge people for this stuff, and you have it for free right here. So we're going to be following from 1.1 to all the way 1.3. This is what we are going to create. So if you want to follow that in from the blogs, you can actually do this step by step by screenshot. Watch step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. If you're using our server, then it's great. Yeah, you have the same thing. But if you're using your own vSphere access, VirtualBox, and stuff like that, you can still do the same process. Okay. So now we have a system. The first thing we need to make sure that in this system we have 6 vCPU and 16 GB RAM, which is pretty good for just domain and a few machines. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to install a domain controller. And domain controller, when I say install a domain controller, it has to be done on a server, right? So we're using 2019 data center from Microsoft. Now you must be wondering, how did I get that? Now for that, you need to watch that playlist. We have downloaded the file from Microsoft into this system, and it's already there. We have downloaded a client from Microsoft, and it's in this system. So let me show you where that is. You're going to go to storage. You're going to go to data store, and you're going to click on data store browser. So here you go. You got this server, which is a 2019, and this is the client, which is our Windows 2000. The version is 2004, I believe, and also this is Windows 10. When they say client over here, that tells you that this is the client, for Windows 10. And when you click on this right here, this is server. A lot of our interns get confused with this type of stuff. They start doing it and then they figure out, but that's the easy way. You click on it, click on the ISO, check the server right here, and then you click the ISO and it says client right here. Okay, so that's clear. The first thing we need to do is to install a virtual machine. And in most of the environments, that's how we are doing these days. So why is this very important for you? Because these days, people are moving away from physical stuff. They don't buy a physical server, put one server, buy another server, put another server. They don't do that. They buy one massive server, and they put all virtual machines like this on this server. And then people can access it through RDP and things like that. So if you don't know about RDP and things like that, again, you need to go back to the fundamental course on our platform, and you need to actually learn these things. So let's get started. The first thing we need to do is to create a server, and this is just a normal server, a workgroup server. It's powerless. We're gonna make it powerful. We're gonna make this server a king, so it can control all of other devices in this network. It has to be a king. It has to have a lot of power, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna create this. We're gonna click on next here, and then we're going to name it. We're going to name this DC, domain controller, in this lab, okay? And now, because this is compatible with 6.7, fine, we're going to have to choose a Windows operating system family, and version is 2016. So you may say, you said 2019, why are you picking 2016? Because the 6.7 host, or the operating system that we have installed on this host, is not up to date. So we can go for a 6.7 version this, and maybe it'll have it. We can update this and we'll have that. That's just a template, but it's not going to impact too much. So pick 2016, and then we're going to click next over here. And then of course you need to, this is your total space over here in this. And again, I will say sorry for a little, this is a little blurry. The reason for that is because we're using a lab on the web system. So that's what you're going to be using too. So if you're seeing this pretty blurry, like, okay, if I'm going to show you right now, if you're seeing something like this, you see it's bad, right? You can fix it by going to settings. If you're using our servers, go to 90%, 100, and fast, and then click OK, and it gets a little better and faster. That's just for people who have slow access, okay, slow internet connection. So this is your overall data storage, and we're going to click next over here. And now here we are going to pick what we want to give this server. That's the power of virtualization. You can just pick and choose things, right? You can't do this in physical environment. You have to take things off and on and everything. So 2 vCPUs is fine for virtual machine, and 4 GB is also fine for a domain controller, because we're not going to be logging in and doing a lot of things over here. We're just going to set it up, forget about it, and then we're going to be doing a lot of things, because this is a IT basics labs for help desk. We're going to be using a lot of things in Sherry's machine, because that's the powerful machine. She has to be supporting other people, so she needs tools and things like that. We're going to give her more power, but for now this is good. Here we're going to pick thin provision. The reason for that is that tomorrow, if we need more space in the server, we can go ahead and expand it. If you use the other ones, of course, it's not going to be easy. That is a little advanced stuff. So if you really are interested in this stuff, I would say research on this and find out more about thin, thick, provisioned, all that kind of stuff. Okay. So now when you come back to this, you need to tell this virtual machine to start from somewhere. We have downloaded a CD. So when in a normal hardware like this, when this is the laptop with me right now on the side, you have to put that CD inside that machine, and you have to tell the laptop to start from that CD, USB CD. Here is exactly the same concept. You need to tell this machine to start from somewhere. So we're going to click on here, and you see it's going back to data store. That's where we want to go, and that's where we going to pick the server. Okay. So we picked the ISO. Let's go ahead and click on select, and that is our settings, and we're going to click next and then finish. Okay, so now you see our DC template is ready. Now remember, this is just a template. Basically, when you put a DC here, that doesn't change your operating system name. I will show you that later on, and that's a very common mistake our interns are doing right now. They will name it DC, and later on they will go ahead and finish everything, and they think that they have changed the name. So it's just a name, right, on this system. It's not an actual name of the machine. So you're going to click on it, and then we're going to power this on. And this is where the tricky part is. When you power it on and you go to console, and you need to open this like that, browser console, you see that it tells you to hit enter key. So when you open it, if you start hitting it, still it's not going to work. The reason for that is that you have to be inside this machine by clicking in it. So I'm going to do this again. I'm just going to go ahead and reset it one more time. Reset. Yes. Go to console. Open it. And I'm going to double click inside this. And you see when I click enter, and then it works. So you have to enter inside this black screen. Well, sorry, the click inside the black screen, then enter very quickly. You can change these settings again, but again, that's just more of virtualization skills than this stuff. Now, but again, I want to remind you all that you're doing this just so you can set up a lab for yourself, and you also understand a little broader or bigger way of, okay, this is how a domain is created. You're not learning DNS, you're not learning DHCP. Now, for people who are thinking, hey, if I'm not learning this, where can I do that? Because I am already working in an environment. So for that, you definitely need to go a little beyond this type of skill. You need to go for Server Plus, or more of a Microsoft specific server courses that we have. You should take that, because that's going to teach you that stuff. Okay, so now that we have this, let's go ahead and fix the screen a little bit. All right, we're going to click next here, and we're going to click install now. So this is another important area, and you have different versions of operating system for 2019. We are not using standard, we're not using evaluation for this desktop version. So this is a desktop is a GUI, right? You can see things, and the other one's a core. You don't see that. You need to know PowerShell. So here we're going to use a data center, because it's a trial version. We don't care about it. You're not paying anything. We're going to use the maximum one that we can afford. So we're going to click accept this agreement, click next. You're using a custom installation. You're using a fresh brand new installation. So you're going to be using custom, not upgrade. If you had like 2012 server, you would be using the first option. So here we have the space that we have picked for this server. That was the virtual space that we have picked, 40 GB out of the maximum that you have 150, or if you have 1 TB, you need to make sure you don't cross or you don't go near that, because you also need to install other virtual machines. So we're going to click next now. And now you see after this it's kind of automated. And again, sorry, the blurriness is there because we're using a virtual system inside a virtual system. It's a little blurry, but we'll try to see if we can fix this in next videos. But for this, I mean, most of you have seen this, right? You install a server right now. You're just installed that operating system, and after this we have to configure this to become a Active Directory domain controller. We need to put Active Directory in it to give it a power, and then this is going to say, okay, I'm the king of this network, who am I going to be managing? And then we're going to put clients, which are Windows 10 machines, and we're going to attach it, connect it to this domain, and then you can manage those machines. If you have other servers and you install those servers, if you don't make it a domain controller or Active Directory in the same environment, so basically you can also add those servers. For example, file servers, print servers. You have different type of features that this server can provide, but it doesn't have to be a king. It can be just like a service provider for that king, right? Like there's a king, there's like different type of service people like sitting around that person. So this server can have other servers with him, but him or her, it doesn't matter. But they can be there. The servers can be there. It doesn't mean that you cannot install more servers. Just for people who are extremely new to this stuff. While this is getting installed, I will take you back for people who are like, okay, where do I learn more of tell me about this whole concept of a business level network. How does that work? So if you remember in our second video of this playlist, if you click on it, it's going to take you to this video. It's a 1 hour long video. Try to watch this video fully, because it tells you how a network basically starts, who is a network engineer, and practically I'm showing what do they set up. They set up everything, networking, switching, whatever. And then after that, systems administrator will come in and they will set up. So the things that you're seeing right now is a sysadmin job, because they're configuring the server, they're putting a domain controller, they're going to even add you in this system, and then you can add more Windows 10 machines for clients. But if you want to see how it's done on a real physical environment, that's the video you need to watch to get that whole idea cleared in your head. Who gives you your DNS? Who gives you your DHCP? When I plug that Ethernet into that machine, how do I get that IP address? How do I get the DNS stuff? All of that has to be set up by these people. And this network, the one that you are practicing, you can do this in your home, but in your home you have your local routers, right? So that's giving you the DNS, that's giving you the DHCP. So here you're creating your own DNS. You can point that, you can manually point your machines to DNS, but it's going to be a lot more work for you in your home environment to separate the DHCP, separate the DNS. Now that's where, for people who are extremely new to this stuff, don't get into that stuff. right? That's not your area. Don't take that stress first. First, configure something easy, which is Active Directory. Then your own machine as a help desk. Then you work on the help desk and the skills that are required in this job: imaging, deployments, operating system troubleshooting, adding users, removing users, emails, browser, troubleshooting like that. That's your job right there in the beginning. Don't focus too much on the other side. Watch it, try to understand it. Once you get a hold of this stuff, then go back to the DHCP DNS, configure it, create your own, and then that's going to give you that. Now you're getting into a sysadmin world, right? Or networking world. It's going to break things down for you easily then. But first, watch the video. Watch the video that visually show you everything. Then you come over here and practice. And if it's not here, you don't want to invest over here, open up your own virtual box. If that's not possible, if you're a premium member, I'll show you later on how can you use our premium labs to actually practice Active Directory. Everything is there for you. I'll show you that later on. Alright, so this is much better, right? I just kind of like logged in directly to that server, so now we can have a better view because we're gonna do a lot of things over here. So your server is getting ready. It's going to install. The initial installation will be done very quickly, so we're just gonna wait on that to come up, and it will ask you for the username and password, generic stuff. So we're going to finish that. So in the blog, we have finished almost all the way down here. You see how blogs can be very step by step, and this is where we are right now. We are right here. You see how step by step this information is available for you for free. You should definitely take advantage of this. Okay, so it's getting started. Alright, so this is the first screen that you will see. We're going to give it a password. You can give it whatever you have, and we're going to give one. So in the vSphere, as you know from your playlist learning, you know how to do all control delete. You're going to go to actions, and in actions you're going to guest OS, send keys, and then control alt delete, and there you go. We already have a connection and everything should be working. So like I said, that is the stuff that your sysadmin network engineers already provide. In your own home network, if you have done the networking correctly in the virtual system that you're using, VirtualBox, our stuff is going to be fixed for you. Or Hyper-V or anything, you need to make sure that you use correct information for that to get the networking stuff going on. Okay, so this is a server. Remember, we told you that this server in the beginning is just an operating system. It's called workgroup, right? It's on the workgroup, meaning it's unmanaged. Right now, I have, as an admin, the password that I created is the only account that has the master access to this server. Nobody in this whole network can just open this server and log in. Why? Because they don't have access to it. And I have not created another accounts in this server locally so then they can have access. There's nothing like that. The only thing that this server is saying that I am a 2019 server. Microsoft has put a lot of features in me, and you can go ahead and enable it for me to do things. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to become a king, or do you want me to become just a normal server that I can provide some tiny many services, right? So we are telling the server, yes, we want you to be a king of this network. Okay, how can we do that? You need to first, now remember, I told you that DC, when you name DC in vSphere, that doesn't mean that you have named the server inside this machine. So when you go to systems, and when you go drop down, you see it says win blah 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 blah. That's a generic name. So I see a common mistake from interns, and they start making the deployment. They just start making this machine a king with this name, and that messes up a lot of things. So the first thing you need to do is to name this DC like that, right? So now you matched it. Of course, it's going to ask you that we need to restart the server. You go ahead and restart it. Let's go ahead and restart the server. Okay, so we'll come back again when this is up and running. All right, so same steps: actions, guest OS, all control delete, and we're going to log in. And you can see there is no other account for you to log in. That's another way for you to know that this is not on domain, because it doesn't say other accounts or anything. So I can just do the same password and I'm going to log in, and now I can do certain things to the server. Okay, the server is up and running. We need to make this a king, and when we say we want to make this a king, we need to give it a Active Directory and domain services and all that kind of features in there. Now for you, when you're brand new, like I said, this is all sysadmin stuff. So if you want to learn this, you can go back to our premium labs and do Server Plus course and Microsoft specific courses that we have, full labs and full lab videos for that. That's for someone who want to become a sysadmin. So here we're not going to do things the proper way. The proper way is what? You're not researching, because this is not something you can just sit down there in a company and say, let me just, spin up a domain controller, add machines to it and servers, and boom, you have a network running. No, it doesn't work that way. You sit down, you plan it, you give it an IP address, static IP address, all that kind of stuff is all foreign to you right now, and keep it foreign for now, and just watch this lab and try to get the whole concept so you can get moving, okay? So the first thing we need to do in this server is to go to the networking side of this, and we're going to open network and internet settings. We have to change a few things over here. We're going to go to Ethernet. We're going to go change adapter option. Right click on this. Go to properties, IPv4 settings, properties. Okay. You see, this server is getting a dynamic IP. What is dynamic? Basically, it is getting an IP automatically from somewhere. And where is that somewhere? That's basically inside this network. There is a router or something like there. I don't want to go into that detail. It says that, oh, you're DC, and are you looking for a networking? Do you want to access network? Here you go. I'm going to give you an IP address. Automatically assigned. I did not assign this, right? DNS. Oh, you're looking for DNS? I'm going to give you a DNS, right? So right now it's that. We are going to, in this lab, keep this dynamic. Why? Because we are going to just change this DNS. And when I say DNS, I am going to put this right here, and I will explain this later on. For now, what this means is this: 127.0.0.1 DNS means, hey, I am going to be using my own DNS. So when this IP address changes, if it does, use that IP address, so then you won't have any issues. If you come over here and you use a static IP address, but you have not done this properly from the back side, if the IP addresses change, you didn't make it static, then this will not work. So that's why in our lab we keep it this way. Now in a reality, you need to go back to this video again, because that's not how it's done. In real world, a network engineer will set up everything. You will set up as a systems administrator a server, and you will give it static IP. You will coordinate if you are two people. If you're one person, one man IT show, you're going to design this. You're going to give IP addresses to the routers, switches, and you're going to give the IP addresses to the server, static ones, and then you're going to connect these two like a network. Everything is designed, so there's no error in here. Here, it's because it's a system that you're using, some kind of lab system. It has to get IP addresses for you to do things. That's why we need to keep this. Okay, so in your lab system you can do the same thing, because you also have almost similar setup. You're not going to have routers, switches set up as a beginner right now. So this is the proper way for you to just learn this, to just keep things functioning. Okay, so we're going to click OK, and we're going to click close on that, and then we're going to close this. Okay, everything is fine, no problem. So now what we're going to do is we are going to go into manage, and we're going to add roles and features. So now this is where we're giving this server what it's designed for: services, roles, power, right? So now I'm going to go to next, and I'm going to click next, and you see the name is DC. So this is where you need to confirm. If you didn't change it, you need to go back, change it, restart it, and do this again. Next. Now you see, this is where I was saying that what do you want this server to do, right? You can do many other things. It can do virtualization. You can put more virtual machines inside the server. It can do fax server. It can do DHCP, DNS separately. It can do remote access. It can do web server IIS. It can do a lot of things. But we want to make this a king in this network. We want this server to be managing other clients, machines, password resets, folder sharing, stuff like that. We're going to give it Active Directory domain services. Okay. So when we click that, it says, hey, we need some more stuff for this server. Why don't you add this? We said, fine. We're going to keep everything. Add feature. We're going to click next. And here it's going to say that, do you want to add more stuff to the server? Because we can add a lot more, but at this point we don't want to add anything else. We'll just click next, next, and we're going to click install. Again, a reminder, this next will not happen in systems administration courses. You need to understand what this next means. Here, as a help desk, you don't care about that. You just follow it, create a lab so we can get to your stuff in later videos. Alright, so now when the installation is finished, it's going to ask you, do you want to promote this server to a domain controller? This is what we're going to call it. We want to make sure that this server have Active Directory. Then that is a step that you need to make. So here you're going to click on promote this to a domain controller, and that is where it's going to ask you for the Active Directory stuff now. Okay, so here we are going to add a new forest because we don't have any other Active Directory server running in this lab that you have, so you need to create a brand new one. Now this is an important one. You need to type something hq.jobskillshare.org. Of course you can use your own name. .local is the lab environment. A lot of people use local because it doesn't go out, so you can use that. Here I'm just using hq.jobskillshare.org. Why HQ? I'll tell you later on what's the reason behind that. I'm gonna keep hq.jobskillshare.org, and I'm gonna click next on this. So here it's asking for a password. Here you need to wait a little bit and give it a little stronger passwords over here, because sometimes it will not take very weak passwords. Okay, now when you're creating a domain controller and you don't have any other DNS servers around in your network, you need to create this a DNS server. This has to be a DNS server in your lab environment. This is the main DNS. Basically what I'm saying is that if you have a client and the client has to be managed, the client has to talk to this server. The DNS has to be this server. I'm going to show you that practically later on. We're going to click next over here. And why did I use HQ? Because when it's NetBIOS right now, it's going to just pick that HQ part from my whole root domain. So here you're going to see that in a second. All right, so we have HQ. The reason for this is that when you are doing a help desk job and sometimes a client call you that I need to install this software, they get a prompt, right? So they want to make it easy. So you want to type HQ / your username and password to give them access on that machine. That's just to make it easy. If you have to use something like, say, jobskillshare.org, then you will have to use a full JobSkillShare. So it's a little more for convenience right now, and also for other reasons too, which is more advanced. But for help desk, that's why use it in your lab like this. It makes your life a little easy when you're learning this stuff from scratch. So we're going to click next over here, and we're going to finish this installation for a domain controller. Okay, so look at this. We already got this. So of course we are using so many labs that we have already used that. That's good that we came across this. If that is your case and you come across this, then you have an HQ somewhere else running, which is fine. We're going to use this like this, then change it to corp, not crop. Corporation, and we're going to click next. And I hope this will be accepted. We won't have any corp NetBIOS. There you go. And it got accepted. We're going to click next here and click next. And that's it. After this is just going to go through the prerequisite. You're going to get some yellow errors and stuff like that in a lab environment. Don't worry about it. In a real environment, of course, by then, if you have done server classes and server labs from our premium membership, I'm sure you would know everything that you're doing over here. You're going to click install. And at this point, we are converting this 2019 server into a king of this specific network. What I mean is this, that anything that you want to do next with the clients, you can manage it from this machine. Passwords, group policy, deploy softwares, print management, so many different things, or specifically restrict a specific file like MP3, MP4. Everything can be done from here, and that's just few examples. So this process takes a little time. I will pause the video and we'll come back and we'll continue this process. Okay, we'll be signed out. We're going to just click close on that. It will be automatically restarted. So just FYI, if you're following blogs, you can see right now the blogs are in basically like create a server, create a client, then promote. So basically what I did in this video is I did this and I just jumped into B, and I am going to do A, B right now and finish this, and later on I'm gonna install client, because when you are in the flow of doing the server stuff, I'd rather do it that way. You can also follow the blogs and do it like this, but that's just another additional step in here that will kind of mess up your flow. So maybe just start with 1.0, jump into this if you're following my video, then this one, and then you're going to come across some issues. Make sure to watch these second examples in my video, and then everything should be good. We will finish up everything in all the way down to 1.4. Okay, let's go back and see where we are. It's still applying some. So when the server is restarted for the first time, it is putting a lot of group policy stuff. A lot of policies are being implemented. New things are getting added. So that's going to take a little time. So be patient. If you have a slower machines, then of course you need to be even more patient, because if you have, let's say, a non-SSD hard disk or less RAM, then of course you need to wait a little more. All right, so it's restarted. So where are we in the blogs right now? We are on this blog, promoting the server to domain controller. If you click on it, you can see it's a very long blog, and we did the same thing in the video, step by step, all the way. If you go down, we just finished everything, and then we restarted the server after the last step. This is what we saw, and we restarted the server. You can see that it is now an Active Directory. It has an Active Directory. So you're gonna go over here, go to Actions, and we're going to go ahead and click on Control Delete, and now you can see you got corp/administrator, and that tells you right there, when you click on other user, you're on corp. That's the server, that's a domain controller. You're on that specific Active Directory that we have given the name of corp.jobskillshare.org now, and now you can log into this server with the username and password that you have created for the first time. So let's go ahead and log in, and you see you'll log in. So far we have done that part, right? This is a systems administrator doing his normal job, and you as a help desk, you're not doing anything. But now you have seen this, and now you have an idea. Oh, that's how they create my account. It's a little more easier for you to learn now. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we are gonna still have to do certain things for you to learn your skills as a help desk. So we need to create your account. So tomorrow, or when you're doing this lab and you're creating machine for yourself, or this system administrator is creating a machine for you, then you need to use that account, because we don't use an administrator account usually. So here we have Active Directory installed, and you can see on the left side ADDS is there, DNS is there. So we're going to click Tools. Now, while I'm talking about that, I'm sure some people will be watching me and they'll be like, hey, can I learn this more in detail about this DNS and stuff? As I mentioned before, in our premium membership, yes, you can do. So I pulled this up for you just to quickly show you. In this, basically, I recommend you to start with 7040, 7041, 7042, which is a Microsoft 2016 server certification. Now, a lot of people will argue that, oh, aren't they removing this certification? Well, in this platform, we don't care about certification, because when you do a real world work, we are still heavily using 2012, 2016 server, and you need on-premises skills and you need cloud skills later on. But you need this stuff. There's no way you can compete with new certifications. You think you're going to learn the more modernish skills and you're just going to get away with this stuff. That's not going to work. So, you need to come over here, go over it. It's just like, for example, networking with Windows, have a specific installing a DNS. Everything is there, DHCP in very detail. So you will learn that as a sysadmin if you want to learn this kind of stuff. Later on, I will also show you as a help desk person can also use this type of labs to actually enhance your Active Directory skills. But for now, let's just keep moving with our own setup. So we go to Tools, and we go to Active Directory users and computers, and now we are going to add a user in here. So right now, this is your Active Directory, and you must be thinking, are we going to learn everything about Active Directory? No, because this is an IT basics lab, and we're going to only touch the basics for you to get going, because for this we also have a free course on JobSkillShare. You can go to JobSkillShare, open that Active Directory free course, and just learn from that course specifically about Active Directory. So here we are going to go ahead and click on users, and we're going to create a new user. How do you create a new user in Active Directory? You should know this. If you don't know, right click, go to new, go to user, and type help desk here. Okay, help desk. We're going to name it password, give it any password you like. Make sure to uncheck this, because if you're trying to do this in a lab environment, a lot of people forget this check mark and then they have issues, and they're new, they cannot troubleshoot, then of course they have issues. And then click next and finish. Now this is just a normal user that you have added into this domain user environment. This user doesn't have too much rights. But if you connect a machine to this domain from somewhere in this network, this user can log in, but with limited rights to that machine. That's why it's managed network, right? But we're going to make this user an admin. In your lab, you're going to do the same thing, because this user has to do certain things. And that's what we're going to make sure that you learn these skills. So now we're going to click on member off, and we're going to make it as a domain admin. Why domain admin? All that kind of stuff. This is all by design. People will not give you that kind of rights. That's all you have to learn from Active Directory and how people run business. That's all access. For here in a lab environment, you just need to give yourself top rights so you can do things. You're going to click apply and OK, and now your Active Directory account is created. Okay, at this point, your server is ready to go. Your Active Directory is ready to go. So all you got to do is to close this. By closing this, does not mean you're shutting it down. But shutting it down is like when you go to a server shutdown, or you click here and power off. That's not something you want to do. Domain controller always has to be running. Similarly, in our practice lab environment, we always tell people to make sure your domain DC, plab, there's a DC already running. You don't need to install all of that stuff. So when you know the basics as a premium member, when you know how this thing is done, you don't need to install anything from scratch. You can just spin up a lab, you have domain controller, and you have multiple machines to practice. Now coming back to a lot of people like, okay, how do I practice on Active Directory stuff? Every lab and practice lab comes with Active Directory. So if you click on this plab DC and you open that lab, let's go ahead and open it. This is actually not connected. Let's see, why is this not showing me? Oh, the reason for that is because the buttons are on the right side here. You're gonna click on this little icon. Now this is for premium members, by the way. Don't get confused right here, because I'm trying to do both things at the same time. For people who are going to be complaining, hey, what do I do with Active Directory when I have access? These are the questions that I answer on a daily basis. So here you're going to go into Active Tools, and Active Directory is right there. So this is for premium members because you have that access. You can go play around with the clients and everything. So let's go back. All right. So now we need to install client. Okay. So next, we need to install a client in this machine, in this lab, so then we can complete this. Create a virtual machine client. So how is that going to happen? Exactly the same way we did. Install a server. So in part 2 of this lab, we are going to install the client by watching this blog and doing the same process. If you're following the blog, you can continue. And I will see you in part 2 of this video. We will install the client, and then we will basically promote these machines to the domain controller. So we're going to complete the whole setup of this first few blogs in this. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any comments, let me know, and we will continue this IT Basic Labs.